Hello, I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that this video can take your mind off of things for just a little bit. Today I am posting this little speed build for you, and I am really excited for you guys to see how I made this cottage. It's one of my favorite builds that I have ever made, and as I said before in the little tour, I think this will be my forever project, my little forever home. So as I've mentioned before, this was inspired by Frozen to begin with. I really wanted it to have that like log cabin feel to it, so I added some beams to the walls so that I could kind of mimic that. And I also drew a lot of inspiration from my parents' home, which is very old and also has log walls, so it's really fun to kind of draw inspiration from something that I know and is very familiar to me. Honestly, I didn't really have any sort of a floor plan in mind when I was building this. I just really knew that when you walk in, I wanted to see a window and a snowy scene out of it. So this is me building that window, and it ended up being in the dining room. And for now, this build actually consists of a pantry, a kitchen, the dining room, entrance area. It has like bunk beds in that same space, and it has a living room. And yes, it might be a crazy sentence to say that there's bunk beds in like the living space here, but that's how it is in my parents' house actually. For context, my parents live in a very old house that used to be a place where multiple people were working. They were like generational living, and also there were like farmhands and stuff. So there's bunk beds in the dining room or kitchen area. There's of course normal bedrooms as well. There's so many rooms in that house, and there's also 3 buildings outside. They also have this sort of bell that they can ring inside that calls people to dinner, like a soup bell I suppose it's called or something. So that's really interesting, and also it's all just heated with firewood. So it's really nice to sleep in the bunk beds when it's winter, because that area will be the warmest. And yeah, I assume that that was for people working there and they were looking after the fire. Another fun fact about the house is that there's actually a space underneath the floor for storing potatoes, and it's really interesting. There's like this little hatch and you can get in there and just, store potatoes in there. So it was kind of fun to just draw inspiration from something that I'm so familiar with and just bring it into WoW and into this build. So building this actually did take me a while. I did not want to just sort of full speed ahead, just steam through it, because this was something I really enjoyed. So I worked a little bit at a time. It took me a while, but it was kind of fun because I really got to enjoy midnight, like starting out raiding and Mythic Plus and everything. It's been really fun. Also, another reason why things have been a little bit slower here has been because I have been tapering off of a medication, and it was an SSRI that I got prescribed for anxiety. This was like 6 months ago, and I finally am not taking it anymore. It was causing a horrible amount of side effects for me. It did not work for me at all. It did not do what it was meant to do. It only caused more issues. So tapering off of this medication has been really difficult, and now that I'm not taking it anymore, I'm going through some withdrawals. For example, last night I could not sleep at all. The past week or so I have been struggling with sleeping a lot. Well, for the past 6 months I've been struggling with sleep. That's one of the biggest issues that I've had. It's been rough now, so that's why it's been a little bit more quiet here, but I'm hoping to get back on track soon. I just wanted to give a little update, and maybe if someone else is going through something similar or has been through something similar, you can understand why it has been a bit more quiet. But I'm positive that this will pass soon and everything will be back to normal, and then I can enjoy building a little bit more again and get back to the routine of posting more often. I just thought that I would give a little update on that, because I do always yap in these speed builds, and it just makes sense to sort of explain why things have been a little bit slower or more quiet here. So let's talk a little bit more about the build now, because I really wanted to challenge myself to do something different in this build. In the Frozen movies and in Nordic architecture, you can see this thing called rose painting. And this was sort of my first go with this idea when I was building this fireplace, and I really like how it turned out. I was experimenting with colors at this point, so these don't stay, and thank God they don't, because they were horrible. I was just testing out different ways of sort of showing the little what is it? Swirlies on the pillows. That was actually really difficult for me to say. I can't believe I just messed that up. That's so funny. I will blame the lack of sleep, okay? But yeah, I ended up experimenting with a lot of different colors, and I really wanted the swirlies on the pillows to pop. So I ended up making the pillow sort of this light green, now you can see, and then the swirlies were this dark green, and it ended up looking not so great, so I ended up changing this, but thank God I did. I just realized that when I was struggling a lot with the color palette of this build, it was the best if I just chose some colors and I built something else for a bit and just looked at it on the side. It kind of gave me some perspective, and I just sort of sat with it for a moment, and then I realized I didn't like it, so yeah. That was my method of figuring out the color palette. I also wanted to try some wood paneling, so I used these bookshelves and I turned them around and sized them up, and they sort of gave this look of the walls just being this like wooden panel. Honestly, I had no idea what to do with this corner of the build, so I ended up making it this painting area, and I really like how it turns out in the end. This area ended up being like a living room with like a bunch of bookshelves and then a little painting nook. And this is where it got kind of difficult for me, because I was constantly imagining that this would be sort of like Anna and Elsa's cottage, or Kristoff and Anna's cottage, or something like that. But I never sort of knew what they would have in their house, because you can see some stuff in the movies and like you can sort of tell their personality. In the end, it's kind of difficult to know what they would have in their like cottage. So I ended up just going with like it being inspired by Frozen, but it's my cottage. So this time that sort of thinking worked better for me than thinking of a fictional character and then thinking what they're like and like what their personality would be like or what they would own. I just kind of got stuck into the thinking of like, oh, I need to really replicate what I can see in the background in the movies, and that didn't really work out because quite often those backgrounds are so minimalistic. As you can see, I used a bunch of crazy colors in this build and I love it. I personally really love color in my space and it just makes me really happy. And when it's like inspired by Disney, it just makes sense to use a bunch of bright colors, and this was really good practice for me because obviously not every single color works out, and I ended up spending so much gold on dye, it is crazy. Mostly it was because of these stupid wallpapers that I ended up making. Like I would just dye the wall when I would place the carpet, and then I would do something else for like 5 minutes, then I would change it again, and then I would do something else, and then I would change the dye again on the carpet. And oh my god, I did it so many times. As you can see in these clips, it changed color like all the time. I can't even remember what it ended up being, so that's great, and I'm still not sure if I love it even. So I don't know, it was just really difficult, but I do love using these carpets as wallpaper. I really wish we had more carpets. I feel like that's something that the game really needs. We need more carpets that can be dyed, because the options we have currently are not great, I'll be honest. There's so many beautiful carpets in this game, and because you can't dye them, you can't use them for everything, because it's just like they're such bright colors as well. So it's really difficult to use them in builds all the time. Today the endeavors also changed, so we had the same exact options that we've had before, and we went with the artistic aid today as well, because it's much easier to do those quests because it's current content. You don't have to go to like Pandaria to do quests or anything like that. So we just went with the artistic aid. I think that's the best option if you want to just get some house XP really quickly and sort of passively just finish the endeavor. And a helpful reminder, hopefully, you can just go to the house finder thing and just visit these public neighborhoods and see what vendors they have. So you can just go and buy the different endeavor items from those. And I'm assuming quite a few people probably went with the artistic aid as well, because the endeavor tasks are so easy to do passively. So I would really suggest just to check out all of the public neighborhoods. You can just refresh it and just see what you get, and just visit those and see what vendors they have. Also, sometimes there's a person visiting your neighborhood next to the bulletin board where you can find items from different endeavor vendors. So that's another little tip here. Anyway, now back to the build, because we are doing the rose painting. Yes, I was experimenting with color again because I didn't know if I wanted to go with sort of this like Anna's dress palette, which I ended up going with, or if I wanted to bring in more Elsa as well. And turns out I did not really like the blue in this house that much, so I ended up mostly using the color palette from Anna's dresses, for example, because, well, you don't see a whole lot of the interiors in the first movie, and honestly the color palettes in the interiors were not that helpful to me, so even if the second movie had a little bit more interiors to look at, it was not really that helpful. So their dresses were mostly my inspiration for the color palette, as well as the new Frozen area in Disneyland Paris, which opened recently. I was looking at a lot of videos and pictures from that place and it looks amazing. I can't wait to see it this month for myself. And I will of course be probably working on this build a lot after that trip to sort of fix whatever does not feel right after that trip. And also I will be sharing photos, of course. I'm so happy to go there. I can't wait. It's been a few months now. I'm just super excited to see all of the new areas, the Rapunzel ride, the Frozen ride, of course the new restaurant and the new merch that they have. And I'm fully expecting to also get really inspired to build something Rapunzel themed after that trip, because I love Rapunzel. It's one of my favorite movies. Just the aesthetic of that movie is so perfect to me. I just love her paintings and everything about that movie is just so like my style and what I really enjoy. And of course Disney Dreamlight Valley Rapunzel home is like a big inspiration for me. I just love it and I'm really excited to go to Disneyland. Anyway, you've been kind of watching now me make those rose painting things or those little details, and I've been mostly using shelves and pillows to make those. I found that that's probably the best way to make it look sort of the similar style. And I really had fun with this. It was actually really therapeutic to make this. It took a long time, but I really enjoyed it and it was super fun and I can't wait to do more. And pretty much all of the items I used for these details were from the neighborhood vendors, the Elegant series of decor. It's super easy to obtain and of course it costs gold, but it's not that much in my opinion. And it's fairly easy to get gold these days, like as in when you do content, you get quite a bit of gold when you're just doing stuff. It's fairly easy to do yourself as well in your build. Honestly, all I did was just resized items and rotated them so that they clipped into the wall perfectly and only left like tiny little parts out. I thought that they turned out pretty good. I probably like the dining room one the best, but I think I like the one here at the arch as well because it's a bit different and I really struggled with the color palette here as well, but I do think that it ended up looking pretty good. I still think that I like the dining room one the best. I really like the color palette and it sort of reminds me of Tangled as well. Yeah, that's probably why I like it the most. That makes a lot of sense. It will be really fun to figure out how to do the paintings for the Rapunzel build, but first I'm going to be building something for Elsa actually. I've already started a little bit and it's going to be very icy, very frosty, and we'll see if I can make a little castle build for her or if it's gonna be just a cottage. I'm slowly working on it and it's definitely a lot of fun. I get to use a bunch of the Void Elf items because I feel like those work pretty well with the style, and yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I definitely want to build something small in between those builds though, so I'm thinking of building a tiny little room build, but I'm not sure of the theme yet, so if you have any suggestions I would love to hear those because I'm going to be planning a few builds now and then yeah, going to be just working on those, and then I think it's time for Elsa and Tangled and all of those when I'm back from my trip. And the room build will not be Disney themed. I know that there's been a lot of that recently, but that makes me happy right now, so that's why. And of course I'm really excited for my trip, so that's why there's so much of that right now. But I think the room builds can be something else, and I'm thinking of it being like an original story of some sort. And when I say room build, I don't mean like a tiny little closet or like a tiny room. I just want it to be one room that I work on, and well, it can be a big room as well. Here you can see me making the painting corner, and this is probably my favorite area of the house. I really love how the living room turned out. I really love the painting items that we got and all of the new Blood Elf items that we've been getting from the artistic aid especially. Yeah, I'm really excited to get the rest of the paintings today when I complete the campaign. I've actually been really enjoying the campaign myself. I know that there's some mixed feelings about it online, but yeah, I really like it and I've been having a blast with the raids and everything. I'm really keen to see what happens with the story though. Now here I really wanted to do some sort of a detail that is like completely a reference to Arendelle, so I went with this sort of like a little crest thing that is like this greenish blue color and purple, and I thought that that was kind of nice. This has sort of ended up being a blend of what I would want in my home and then also what I could see Anna having in her home, and then I'm gonna have a separate area for Elsa. I personally do relate more to Elsa than Anna in the movies. That's kind of like my relationship with my sister as well. Yeah, I'm like team Elsa all the way, even though she's really frustrating, but that's because I am too. And then my sister's like the more logical one. But then again, I feel like Anna is also a little bit more like goofy and not so serious. I don't know. But I feel like I'm like Elsa in the sense of like I do whatever I want. And then my sister's like, why are you like this? So yeah. I rewatched the movies when I was building this. And honestly, I was just so like blown away with how good they are. Like I could not remember them that well because it had been so long. They were actually really fun and I really enjoyed it. And actually here is one of the most important parts of the build, and that is the waffles. This design is by my friend Nicole. Botanicals, if you have seen her online, and you probably have. She makes amazing videos how to make like detailed builds and also detailed food items in game. So when I saw this, I was like, I have to include this in my cottage build. It's perfect. I'm so thankful for her. And also you should go and check out her streams. They are amazing. So I just recommend her with my whole heart. Go check her out. She's amazing. I also replaced the table here at the end because I thought that the other one was a little bit too dark and I really preferred the brightness that this one brought to the room. Also, I barely recorded myself making the kitchen because I truly hate building kitchens. I do not care for them at all. And finally, this back area here is going to be the little transition to Elsa's area. So there's just like an outside evening room there on the other side of the doors, and I'm going to be building her cottage or castle or whatever I can make for her there. And then I really wanted this area to sort of like be a good transition between those two areas, and here I'm just building a door. But yeah, we're coming to the end of the video here. I'm just building a little door, and this is the last thing that I'm going to be adding to this. And of course I'm going to be adding new rooms to this build over time, but yeah, for now this is how it looks, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed this speed build. I had so much fun building this. It was kind of slow and I do apologize for being away a little bit, but I hope that soon I can get back to a routine and share some cool inspiration and some new builds with you guys. So yeah, I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for listening to me yap once again. Thank you for being here and happy building!